in the dying embers of human existence, as the asteroid, a behemoth the size of Texas, hurtles relentlessly toward Earth. The world braces for an apocalyptic end. Deep beneath the bunker, a refuge plunges into the bowels of the Earth. Here the chosen gather, their purpose clear, to preserve the very soul of our civilization. The 35 and 70 millimeter prints that encapsulate the magic, the emotion, and the dreams of generations past. These masterpieces, each frame a testament to the human spirit, are carefully cataloged and cradled in the cavernous confines of the bunker. Perhaps there was room for more. For friends and family yearning for salvation, but sacrifices must be made. The movie nerds stand united, the keepers of a flame, promising a future where the art of storytelling endures, transcending the boundaries of time and space. God help us all.
Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Western Media Podcast Network. Join us as we watch and discuss films on VOD and streaming platforms, deliberating on whether each one is worthy of salvation or destined for destruction in the face of the impending asteroid apocalypse. You can find more episodes of this podcast on backtotheframerate.com, where you can subscribe and share our shows, and find us on our socials at Back to the Frame Rate. I'm Nathan Schur, and accompanying me are the extraordinary movie mavens, Brianna Butterworth and Sam Cole.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back, everyone, to a new month, a new theme.
It's summer.
It has come to this. But before we get into the show, I do have a question for
every week. I forget that you do this, and every week I'm just so pleasantly surprised.
So, if your life story was turned into an 80s movie, it would most certainly include an epic montage. Of course. There would be 3 key elements to this montage you must choose. 1, what song would be playing? 2, what skill would you be learning? And 3, finally, what outfit would you be wearing at the end of this montage?
This is such a good question.
So I would definitely it'd be playing the song from Scarface. It'd be "Take It to the Limit," and I can't remember who the musical artist does it, but it'd be a montage. I would be learning how to successfully launder money, and there'd be like just like gators and like just crazy parties and
gators.
There'd be like gators like in like fenced in water holes like in my giant mansion place. And what was part 3 again? What was the third one?
What outfit would you be wearing at the end of this montage?
A like ridiculous 80s like white sports coat, like yuppie villain bad guy and aviators.
Fascinating.
All right. Gauntlet
I'm so
flown.
glad you asked, because I'd be studying the blade. I would be listening to Eye of the Tiger, getting really good with the sword, and I'd be wearing a FUBU tracksuit.
Excellent.
Nice.
All right.
It'd be cool if you were like,
what a great movie.
It'd be cool if you were getting your like pilot's license, but it was like bad 80s effects. So it was like you in a plane, but against green screen, and it was very like fake looking.
Just like rear projection.
Yeah, rear projection, but like bad rear projection, like rear projection. It doesn't line up with the shot.
I'm just in like cardboard.
Yeah, exactly. It's being like shook around. Yeah.
The song is Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Exactly. That's a good 80s movie as well.
Well, if you hadn't guessed, we watched Ernest Goes to Camp. And what's really funny is from 1987, directed by John R. Cherry III. But what's really funny is when we were picking the movies for this theme this month, we did not really plan out very well how difficult it was going to be to find this film.
Oh my God.
We just assumed that, it's going to be on VOD or streaming.
Ubiquitous. Someday. Yeah. It's not.
No. It's
viewers,
impossible.
if you're trying to watch along, follow in my footsteps and buy a 3-pack of Ernest DVDs off Amazon.com.
See,
Yeah.
I copped out. I went to my local library
That's a
and
better solution.
yes, because I don't need to own these. I definitely do
But
not.
you do need to support your local library.
You
so-
do. It is. So I was proud to do that. And I got the 3-pack. They had the 3-pack. I only watched the first one. I'm like, that's it for me. Not to spoil anything. But yeah, that's how I found my copy of Ernest Goes to Camp. Sam,
I
what
got
was your story?
the 3-pack like 8 years ago, then lost it, and then bought it again, and that's my
my God.
story.
Mhm. I bought it, and for clarity, the 3-pack is Ernest Goes to Camp, Ernest Goes to Jail, Ernest Scared Stupid, the trilogy, trifecta, what have you.
Ernest
It's
Saves
interest-
Christmas is not is like available as its own separate thing, but yeah.
Do
Fascinating.
you think there's an Ernest box set out there where you can get all of them? Is there like
Well,
10
here's
movies?
my question. Do you think there's like, because I used to go to Sam's Club and do this as a kid.
Criterion box set?
Do you think there's, you remember when they just sold 2 VHSs to get saran wrapped together? And they were like, this would be a good double feature. You should buy
Yes.
these.
Yes.
Do you think there's 2 3-packs of Ernest floating around? Or there's like an Ernest 3-pack and a Mr. Bean 3-pack or something? Anyway, going back to DVD was fun. I did watch all of them. I watched all 3. So now I know more about Ernest.
You know more than I do. So
Yeah, I learned a lot, Nathan.
You watched the first, the second, and the fourth film in chronological order.
Wow.
Or, sorry, the first, the second, and no, the first, the third, and the fourth. My
Wow.
bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Would have been funny.
So
if you
I
watched
might be
all these out of
missing
order.
part of this story.
Ernest
you
Saves
have the
Christmas
full
made
picture?
the most money, and it's very, very dull. I only saw it once on TV, but
And that was the second.
that was the second.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I wonder if like everybody was like, Ernest Goes to Camp was so good. And then they ran out to see Ernest Saves Christmas. And then it made a lot of money.
So
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, there you go.
So why are we doing this? Because it's the summer. We decided to do, summer vacation films. Is that what the idea was? I don't remember anymore.
You had this idea.
I had this idea, but here we are nonetheless. I hope, you know what, we wanted something kind of fun, easy breezy for the month of July. That was the idea. And this seemed like a nice
kind of
nostalgia
nailed it.
pick. Yeah, I think so. This definitely struck the nostalgia chord. Well, at least with me and Sam. Maybe more with Sam.
I didn't grow up with Ernest. Yeah.
But we'll get to our thoughts in this movie very shortly. I will read a plot description here. I think that's the next thing I was going to mention here. Yes, the plot synopsis. And I have it right here. This is pretty simple. A well-meaning but bumbling handyman becomes a counselor at a summer camp and must lead a group of troubled youth to save the camp from being closed down. There you have it.
That's pretty A to B.
Yep.
Yeah.
And of course, I have a trailer. I think this is it.
Have you ever had any group leadership experience?
I had an ant farm once.
How'd you like to be a counselor?
Walt Disney Pictures proudly presents
What do you think you're doing?
Ernest P. Worrell.
Don't ever do this to a family of badgers.
He'll make you laugh. He'll make you cry.
I need to talk to somebody.
Because now he's made a movie. Ernest Goes to Camp.
Yeah. There you have it. What's funny
That was it. That is the movie we watched.
There's a lot of, I think, moments from that trailer that weren't in the film, which I think a couple,
Yeah.
right?
Maybe
You haven't
some-
mentioned about the ant farm, right? That wasn't
Yeah.
That was there. That was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. I might have.
There was one shot that wasn't there, but it did seem a little like they had extra footage or they didn't use it. Or
Well, Sam, I think a moment you've been waiting for a year and a half. Do you have movie facts for Ernest Goes to Camp?
let's see. So this film is called Ernest Goes to Camp, and it's a 1987 American comedy film directed by John R. Cherry III that he co-wrote with Coke Sam's. I love
Cherry Coke.
Coke Sam's, great name. Absolutely love it. And I love seeing it in the opening credits of all the films. It stars Jim Varney, Victoria Racimo, Lyle Azedo, Iron Eyes Cody, and John Vernon. It is the second film to feature the character Ernest P. Worrell after Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam. I have not seen that.
Wait, this is not. I know he did like ads and spots, but this is not the first time he was in a feature film.
It simply says second film to feature the character Ernest P. Worrell after something called Dr. Otto and the Riddle of Gloom Beam, which I'm guessing he has a cameo in. But it is the first film in the Ernest series. Came out May 22nd, 1987. Honestly, budget of $3.5 million, box office $23.5 million. Not a failure for sure. Very, very low budget. And the next film in the series, Ernest Saves Christmas, was released in 1988. And there are YouTube videos about this, but principal photography took place in Tennessee from September 3rd until September 24th, 86. About 150 local Boy Scouts were hired as extras. And since it was shot in September in 86, if you recall the scene where Ernest is trying to barbecue and lights himself on fire, there are autumnal trees in the background signifying that was the end of the shoot. And that's not summer, so that is technically a critical point for me. Facts coming at you.
And did you mention this was released on May 22nd, 1987?
Indeed, yes.
I do that. It came out the same day as Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I wonder which one made more money that weekend.
Beverly Hills Cop made $26.3 million. And Ernest made $6.1 million that opening weekend.
What a bad weekend for the movies.
Coming in third place was
Beverly Hills Cop 2 is great. I just watched that recently. I love that movie. Yeah,
I do.
Okay, cool.
Coming in third that weekend, I'll run down this really quickly. Secret of My Success, the Michael J. Fox film. And number 4 in its second week was Ishtar.
Ooh.
I ride hard for Ishtar.
Yeah, I know you do.
I do.
Number 5 in its second week was The Gate. Opening weekend was the Chipmunk movie, the Chipmunk Adventure. Sorry, I don't know if that's the Chipmunks. Wow. The
Alvin Simon Theater.
I don't know. Number 7 in its 23rd week was Platoon.
Wow.
Number 8 in its 12th week was Lethal Weapon. Number 9 in its 9th week was Blind Date, and number 10 on its 35th week, Crocodile Dundee.
No way. Wow.
Yes. Made $1.1 million in its 35th week.
That's impressive.
And Furiosa in its 6th week is already completely out of the theaters.
I saw a part of Furiosa on streaming recently. Like it's totally on.
But it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone out of the theaters after 6 weeks.
It's so disappointing.
Such a shame.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I hate it here.
Still make Mad Max The Wasteland if you're listening to George Miller.
This movie has a 62% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Do you you sound surprised by that? Do you think that's high or do you think that's low?
I'm just putting that out there.
Critic or audience?
Critic.
Okay.
Critic. Audience is 51%. But that's only 62% based on 13 reviews. So, anyways, that's all I got. I guess we get into this. This is our review this week.
Yep, and it's me, right?
It is.
I'm going first.
You're going first. Let's hear it.
Okay.
What did you think of Ernest Goes to Camp?
All right, so I want to start by saying I think I saw this as a kid, like a relative would have it on in the background a couple times. I don't think I ever sat through and watched this beginning to end. And my memory of Ernest is mostly my mom saying, "Ugh, Ernest." So that's pretty much what I had to go off of. I'm not I don't often seek out slapstick, but when I see it, I don't always hate it. So I bought the 3-pack. I popped in Ernest Goes to Camp the other night, and I gotta tell you, it's fine. It's fine. I thought I was really gonna hate it, and I didn't. Some of it's really charming and funny. It's definitely a product of its time, but it has heart and it means well. Viewing it from this is meant for kids made it a lot more fun. I have to say, the kids who are bad kids, they were pretty cool. I like their outfits. They were pretty cool.
The only kids that weren't given like the camp t-shirts.
Yeah, well, they looked cool.
Yeah.
They had some sick shades and spiky hair. I was like, I can see me wanting to be one of those kids. There was some really funny bits, like the opening bit where he's like hopping around on a ladder. You're like, all right, it's pretty funny. The snapping turtles on the nose. I was like, I get it.
When he's on the ladder, like it's so overt that you can't help.
You
but just
know
like,
it's about to happen. You're like, oh, they're gonna do the thing, and then they do, and you're like, I got me.
Well, the ladder bit is a signature thing for his character from all his ads.
Yeah, it's so funny though. Like, I don't know, it still got me.
Never.
Yeah, there. I thought, technical issues with the movie. Yeah, sure. They didn't cast this movie the way we would cast it today. So there's certainly that. There's way too many characters. That feels also like kind of a signature 80s thing. I don't think we need half that many people. The story, it's kind of meandering even for how short it is. It's just thin. It's a really thin plot.
I will say, I don't mean to cut in, but I got to throw this in. Speaking of the humor, I think that like that golf cart that never stops is the stupidest fucking thing.
Yes.
Like every time I see it and I laugh because it's so dumb. It's so dumb that I find it funny because it's like I laugh out of like
Well, and like when we talk about Ernest, so I watched all three, and I got to say, Camp was the best one. There are bits like in Ernest Goes to Jail that I hate, where like in Ernest Goes to Jail, he's chewing on a pen and the ink breaks, and it's just gross, and you get a lot of like mouth noise. I hated that, but in Camp, it wasn't all terrible. I will say I really didn't care for the chefs, but there's a funny like lunch lady kind of thing, but I didn't like their jokes. I didn't like anything that came of it, but it was fine. Like if it's on in the background again, fine. My thing, I kind of won me over to this movie. I thought it was going to be, I'd heard there was a song, and it's nice. It's a nice ballad, but that's not what got me. I am a total sucker for a showdown. We don't get a lot of showdowns. I thought that was so fun at the end. Mm-hmm. And that's where all those characters, having a bajillion of them, really paid off, and all that slapstick comedy and that they had sort of littered throughout. That was a good time. I had a lot of fun with the final showdown.
I love the final showdown because it's like a very low budget like Avatar final showdown.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Just big dumb. I was like, all right, I can get into this. So yeah, it's I don't want to sound overly positive on Ernest because I'm not, but it got a little tiring in the middle there. But there were some soft spots. I don't know. Solid like 2.5 for me. I'd watch it again.
Okay. Well, I think I'd mentioned to both of you earlier this week that I've obviously seen this before, but I had forgotten until this rewatch after I'm guessing what must be like 35, 36 years, I guess is the last time I saw this, and probably had blocked out a lot of what happened in this movie out of my head. I don't know. But this film it's a time capsule loaded with 80s comedy tropes. But a hefty dose of nostalgia. And as dumb as this movie is, I do appreciate that this film really does go for it. It is doing something. I had forgotten so much about this movie, but I did remember key things like the fourth wall breaking. It starts right away with the opening credits, which ironically get flushed down the toilet, a fitting metaphor for what's to come. The humor, though, is a mixed bag for me. While pratfalls and reoccurring gags like the runaway golf cart, completely fell flat for me. It's also because like the golf cart, it breaks the rules of comedy. Like there's like the rules of three. Like if the golf cart happened like 3 times, it could have been funny, but it happens like 8 times.
Yeah. And the movie had its welcome in the middle.
And sometimes a joke can become unfunny, and then if it keeps happening, it becomes funny again. But it never did. It just wasn't working. But anyways, but the point is that there are some genuine funny moments in this movie. So I do give it a pass for some of the humorous things in this. The scene where I love the scene where the second chancers, the kids are ordered off the bus and they immediately spread them when they're told to line up. Is absolutely hilarious.
That got a good chuckle out of me.
Yes. However, the gross out humor, particularly involving the camp chefs, was literally turning my stomach.
Those two chefs get way too much screen time, and you can tell. I feel that the director and the writer, they're like, this is funny. These guys, like, we're gonna give them a bit. They give them a lot of screen time. They're making that stupid soup. They're irritating. There's no way around it. That's
I'm surprised they didn't get a spin-off movie after this. I think they show. I don't know. Did they show up in more movies? I think
they do. The guy, the one of the chefs shows up as a cop or a bank teller or something. And Ernest goes
he's security guard.
Security guard. That's it. Yeah.
So other things. So the plot.
I can tell you.
The plot involving the mining company felt like an afterthought. They had all these shenanigans.
The whole plot was an afterthought. They just needed a bad guy.
I know, but
clear villain,
I know. So they realized that they had no dramatic backbone to this movie and shoehorned in something. Well, anyway, so the films, but we weren't sure if we were going to talk about this or not, but I think the film's portrayal of minority characters, especially the delinquents, hasn't aged that well. But hey, it's the 80s. We've got every single camper in this movie is a white boy. And then the delinquents are a variety of all different minorities, and that
was pretty overt. It was a little the camp felt a little Aryan, you know what I mean? I was like, I don't like this. Yeah. And I know that's it's a different time, but that did not. That was cringe.
There's also this weird
kids
camp that just super gets along with the tribal chief that's played by an Italian American, and a very dated representation.
At the time, nobody knew that.
Yeah,
talking about Chief
Iron-Eyes Cody.
Chief Iron-Eyes, yeah. But what's funny because his character name is just Old Indian Chief. There's not even a tribe associated with this camp. It's just Indian guy.
Yeah,
it's kind of anyways, listen, 80s movie, whatever. So this movie is problematic in parts and it's absurd throughout, but it's undeniably nostalgic for those who grew up with it. I'm glad I had this chance to revisit it. It's a movie that I realized I watched many times growing up, and I actually jogged some memories from my childhood, but I'm not a 13-year-old anymore. B, I'm about to reference something from a movie that I know you love and I have seen too, but I think it's making a commentary on nostalgia, old TV shows. I watched the TV Glow. We both seen that.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's a scene in that movie where the characters, they watch one of the characters watches a show that he watched as a teenager, as an adult, and
the magic is gone.
And the magic is gone. And this is kind of as I was watching this, but with adult eyes, and the perception of it has changed. So in that movie, I watched a TV Glow. They shot footage of that TV show purposely, and it looked terrible. Mm-hmm. And this is how I felt watching Ernest last week, questioning myself. Did I really watch this over and over as a kid? Did I love this? I don't know.
Yeah, you did.
So, anyways, 2 stars.
America did 2 stars. Yeah,
2 stars.
Yeah,
yeah. It's fine. I never will watch this again, but it's there. It exists, and
you called for
it's not my jam anymore.
Brain off TV, and I was like, I really did. I really did, and I got it. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Sam.
All right.
Oh no,
that's it.
Keep going.
To you, Sam.
Yeah, I definitely agree I'm definitely on this very similar page as you guys, because I have 2 separate experiences with this movie, watching it recently just now. And I'd seen it many times when I was between 11 and 12. And at that time, I went to a really good school called Gordon School. And in 4th grade, for some reason, the academic curriculum got really difficult. It was a tough year. And the winter of 4th grade, to me as a kid, with a kid's sense of time, seemed to last forever. And so I have a lot of nostalgia because when I saw it as a kid, I first saw this movie in the winter on VHS. And to an 11-year-old, it felt like this big epic comedy adventure. And like they're talking about, the path of the brave. And I love the opening where they like perform that ceremony that they like, call back to later. So at that age as a kid, that mysticism and I thought Ernest was hilarious. Like I was really, really into it. But I have a similar experience. We're watching it now. Like I enjoy it for the nostalgia purposes. It is amusing if you just want like completely like stupid humor. And like I just find, Ernest and his antics so dumb and so ridiculous that they're highly amusing. But I will say, watching it now, it's not that the magic is entirely lost because I can recall what it feels like, but that's definitely not my reaction watching it like just, point blank these days. It feels a lot the movie used to like that final battle used to feel really big to me. And the movie used to feel like this whole like world of a camp. And now watching it, I can feel the very low budget nature of this movie. In fact, the final scene when like the sign is like, when he's fallen off the thing and he's like underneath the sign and the main camp guy's like, well, at least no one got hurt, as this pullback shot. I used to, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, the movie's ending. I feel like, sad and like, what a great to be part of the summer again. This time I just watched it and I was like, I just saw like a dolly crane shot and like a couple of extras standing in the background. I was like, But lastly, I will end by saying what I do enjoy about it is the Looney Tunes, like almost kind of vicious humor where like, no one in real life would close a bus windows on his hands and like laugh at him. You know what I mean? Like
it's funny.
Yeah, it's like brutal.
Or cover up the bus driver's eyes while they're driving and endanger all of their lives.
It's like so twisted. Or like when there are things that like he would have been killed. Like when the Coke machine falls on him. That is just. I
do want to circle back to this in a minute because it goes so much further than the typical slapstick, which is, I wonder, because it's not gratuitous in an adult way like a lot of stupid humor is, it is still a kid's movie. I wonder if that's why it got like ultra violent. I mean, he got shot at. I was not expecting that.
It did have that kind of like Rambo-esque, like, like sort of like violence at the end. Yeah.
Vernon and shit, or I like to call him Dean Vernon from like Animal House. That's where I remember him from. Like God. He's like outright like wants to murder him. Like,
yes.
I think I would finish my thing. I'd say this. I think this movie deserves 2.5 stars. I might be being way too nostalgia generous where I would just like barely give it a 3. But I'll give it 3, but that's being like super. I'm like being kind to like the memory of my like 11-year-old self who I have long since parted ways with.
You're allowed.
All right. Thank you. So,
but now, and ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat because we have actually rehearsed this. The 3 of us are now going to sing Gee, I'm Glad It's Raining from the film. Just kidding. That's not happening.
I actually had thought about queuing up that song. I didn't have time.
But in the studio with us, Hoobastank is here. No,
I do want to mention that song because, for as much as we, Jim Varney is thought of as this character, he really is a talented actor, to portray this. And he did, when I see him on talk shows, because I went down a deep rabbit hole this past week researching YouTube videos, interviews. He is a very intelligent, articulate speaker. And you would never know
smart
those
enough
interviews.
To play dumb.
Yeah. And you never know that he could just like instantly he could turn on this character. Yeah. So it's and an amazing singer too. He's got a great voice. And there's that song in this movie, which I actually kind of like.
I like the song too. It's just, it's, I remember that was like that it's like the sad scene in the movie.
But it brings some heart to this. I think at first was like, really, are we going here with this song? But honestly, I'm kind of glad we take a break for a moment. It's 3 minutes where it's not. I don't feel like my brain I'm losing brain cells for a few minutes. So
it is heartfelt. It's just like if you're not prepared for it, like it can come across as cheesy. But I do very much like the song as well.
I'm sure my 13-year-old self was like fast forwarding through it.
The movie does sort of go between like really, relentless slapstick humor, and then it does kind of just stop, and it gets to these like office talky scenes with the bad guys, and it suddenly becomes like a very logistical.
I like those office scenes with the bad guys because it's from a different movie. It's from like a middling 80s action movie where it's like, and here's what the bad guys are up to. But I like it. I actually, those villains and the shot of like the crater like blowing up, like they just add a little production value for me in a funny kind of way, like of the Ernest movies. And you saw the other ones be like Ernest Goes to Camp. The camp at least feels like a real camp. Like production wise, the other movies are a lot cheaper looking. If I remember, it's been a while.
I can't tell you how bad the sets are in Ernest Goes to Jail. It's atrocious.
I haven't seen it in so long. I wish I could comment.
It's genuinely vile. It's
I own it now,
so
I guess I'll watch it.
And I watched it on DVD, so even blurry, it looked bad.
Oh man,
it was so awful.
So
low cheapness.
So it's we could go through the plot points here, but I think it's more productive if we just kind of go through some of the more outrageous moments in this. There is a scene between Ernest and the chefs that I found to be, maybe there's a couple of them, but to be absolutely gut wrenching.
Will they make him eat the?
Yes, I think is this the scene where he is mouth raped by the chefs, pretty much with the food.
Yeah,
and the way that they corner him, and he's like, I really feel that Jim Varney was playing himself in that scene. Like, no, I don't want to eat this. And he was completely out of character. Like, I feel like in that moment, and they shove whatever the fuck that was down his throat. And I was like, I felt such a visceral reaction to that I wanted to pause the movie and walk out.
Everything they made reminded me of like Tubby Custard from the Teletubbies.
What?
Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I don't, but I will never unremember that phrase.
The Teletubbies had this like Rube Goldberg machine that would just like spit out pink goo, and everything. I know it wasn't pink, obviously, but it was this weird, like they'd feed it a rubber chicken and eggs erroneous. Like that was it felt like Tubby Custard. I don't know. I need us to pause so you can all Google Tubby Custard.
I'm looking this up now. I found it looks pink.
Yeah, the machine, it's gross.
Oh, but the stuff that they were feeding him looked much worse than this.
Well, the stuff they fed him was lumpy sure.
I could smell it off my TV, whatever they were making. Because those chefs, they looked like they hadn't showered in weeks. They were sweaty. Like first of all, great casting, great makeup and effects for everything they were doing in that scene. But man, I wanted out of that scene so fast.
At what cost? Yeah. I mean,
it's more funny when Ernest gets his shot. Because like, even though I don't like needles,
that was funny.
I love it when he comes to, he's like, well, how blah, blah, blah. He's like changing the subject and like completely terrified out of his mind. That is amusing.
And she was like doing her best to be like, it won't hurt much, and it's so like self-aware and cheesy that it was kind of funny.
That needle was ridiculous too, because that thing was like an eighth of an inch thick. That the width of that thing, that is like a horse like needle or something.
It was just stupid. Yeah. I don't know.
It's definitely got that gross out comedy element to it that I like. Anything with the toilet, so I'm like, nope.
I hate toilet humor so much.
Yeah,
I hate it. Yeah.
It's not, I don't know who does like it, and yet it keeps getting pumped out. Yeah. It did make me kind of, not necessarily nostalgic for these movies like you've talked about, but I was thinking like, I just kind of don't watch enough slapstick. Like some of it is really funny. Wouldn't hate watching a little more
Just
slapstick.
going back to the cooks, they when they get their new machine, the chef
I don't think we should go
has
back to
has the
that.
line like it slices it, dices it, juliennes. Is that from? I thought that was. Is that a reference to like an infomercial, or did that quote come
Oh,
from this movie?
maybe.
Or did that quote come from this movie where?
Oh God, I feel like I should know this, and I don't off the top.
Because
but
I
know what you're
remember
saying,
like it
yeah.
slices it, dices it, juliennes, and I'm just wondering that phrase did not come from this movie, right? Because that's
It had to
something
be
that
something else.
chopper.
Yeah.
okay.
chopper.
But this movie is not that smart. No.
No. It's one thing that was nice. I mean, you can tell that Ernest is just a really lived in character. And that's kind of fun with all these characters like Mr. Bean, Pee Wee Herman, friggin' Austin Powers. You know, they're just these like characters that someone has done for a long time. And they, they add a performance quality to these movies that I think otherwise we wouldn't really be invested in them.
Yeah, it's because of Jim Varney and his antics
Right.
that like give the movie like a
His
pul-
like
a
rubber
pulse.
face.
Yeah. Like I just it's hard not to when the movie opens and you like see him up on the sign and the ladder and he's like talking right to you. It's hard not to. Whoa. Oh, this is the song from the
Is your
from the-
80s
from the
song?
end this is the song from the end credits that when I was like a kid I found really like I was like, oh man,
Pumped
yeah,
up.
Ernest went to camp.
Pumped up.
But what was I totally lost my I was just making a point a second ago and now it's gone. Oh well.
When Jim
I'm
Varney
pumped
breaks
up
the
now,
fourth
though.
wall.
Oh yeah, when
and
Jim
he's
Varney
like,
when he breaks the fourth wall at the beginning, you can't help but just smile because it's like you just this goofy like tone sets in and like sets the bar for the rest of the movie.
And he kind of played some grouches in voiceover work after this movie. He played Slinky the dog in Toy Story.
Yep.
I guess wasn't so much of a grouch, but
Though I have not seen it in a while.
curmudgeon-y.
I will say one brief random memory. One thing I genuinely disliked among many things about Ernest Scared Stupid was that
I hated
Ernest, like he always plays like side characters. Like it'll cut to like different that movie did that ad nauseum where it was just like montages of him playing like 12 different people reacting to the troll. You know what I mean? Like the pacing drove me nuts. Anyway, he
plays 3 really distinct characters in Ernest Goes to Jail, and they were all good. But I want to be clear, they were good characters nestled in a furry asshole of a movie. So we got that.
Can we talk about this big finale? Because
I liked it.
Yes, I loved it. As a kid, I thought it was huge. I was like, "Whoa, there's explosions!" Like my 11-year-old self was when the bad guy like bulldozed the camp house. I was like, "Oh man, you got to get him!" Like I was really into it.
This ending is just bonkers stupid. All right, I'm sorry, but like number one, I do like my movies grounded a little bit in reality and physics because
you picked the series.
The chefs are shooting the mining crew with tennis balls from across the forest. They're shooting like food slime, and
it's what they have.
Although the best part of this, and it's the greatest thing ever in the history of cinema, turtles descending from the sky is both the dumbest but cutest attack in the history of cinema.
Yeah.
And
they're little parachutes.
What are they? Heat-seeking turtles? I mean, because every fucking turtle lands in someone's ear or nose. I mean, what is this?
Well, that's the thing. There's no attempt, like they're not trying to attempt anything in reality at all. They're just going for like payoff comedy, like let's get the bad guys in like a Looney Tunes way. It's like it's totally like it's off the rocker.
They're not even snapping turtles, they're box turtles.
Right.
Toilets exploding? Were they jam-packed with explosives or were they just the methane gas? I don't understand.
One thing I did think about is like they're lucky they didn't kill any of those guys. Like that would have been a legal problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I don't understand. Although
but it's not that like it's one of those movies where like you have to just check your brain at
Yes.
there is no attempt in that final battle to be realistic. It's just trying to entertain you and be like stupefyingly silly and like, yeah.
I like that the second chancers, though, they're like, actually, we were right all along. The moral is break bad, do some shit. Damn the man, keep the camp. I don't know. I think that stuff is really fun.
The message is funny. It's kind of like they just go for it. Then he has that action.
Kids rule, grown-ups rule.
Yeah, it's like I love Ernest is like, they ain't gonna get this camp.
Did those kids like convert a bus into a war rig in like a day also?
Yeah. Mad Max. Nathan, we just watched these movies.
They must have had a lot of gasoline and like kerosene around for those like
it's actually pronounced gasoline, Sam. I'm so
true.
Sorry.
That's right.
I still like it is just interesting how sort of like harmlessly violent, even though it's obviously very violent, these explosives and stuff are portrayed. And then all of a sudden Ernest is like about to be pistol whipped and shot. And that's like very serious violence.
It would have been crazy if he got hit.
But with mysticism. You know, the whole...
exactly, because like the spirit of the forest was like helping the camp or something like that, you know.
He was a real believer. He'd never get hit. You know.
It would have taken a different tone.
He seemed
if
like
he
a
got
coward
killed.
during that, but...
It is sad when Ernest is getting beat up and the kids were like, "Oh, I thought you could fight. You suck."
That scene was hard to watch. I mean, he gets the piss beat out of him.
Yeah, it's like
and he just walked away. They just walk away.
Well, yeah, because the man's got rubber bands for bones. He's fine, but it's just crazy.
I will say that I find when he sets his legs on fire when he's like trying to cook with that contraption, that to me is one of the most tedious set pieces in the film. It's amusing, but it's so slowly and deliberately edited. It's kind of like and then he gets so I don't know, I just found it like, you know, paint by numbers. Like,
you want to talk about the music? I don't really want to talk about the music, but it's
what music? I blacked it out. Circus music.
Who did the score?
The whole time.
Did they ever do anything? Shane Keister, another great name.
These are porn names. There's no
yes.
I will be honest.
Ernest goes to the back of a magazine store.
Even though it was a bit cheesy, I did like the music in that opening like ceremony scene where it was like they were like, you know, if you throw the rock and it doesn't hit him, like the quasi mysticism. The soundtrack was cool there. The score.
Oh my god! Let me tell you, man, this is wow. Yeah.
All right.
I do one funny bit that kind of the theme recurred that I liked is when Ernest would surprise other people by like being kind of smart about something, like he could drive with his eyes closed or he did know sign language, and people were just like, "What do you mean you know this thing?"
I will say it's one thing that's like, you know, sense of time as an 11-year-old and like, you know, aware of time now. This movie felt like long to me as a kid. It felt like a full-on movie experience, and it's so short. When I watched it, it was like the movie. It was so much like smaller than I remember.
And thank God for that, because I think the worst stuff about this movie is the Native American tie-in and just how poorly it's handled. And I think if they add any more time to this movie, that's what it goes to. Is the quasi mysticism, and we don't need more of that.
Yeah,
we don't.
All right,
so that's what we end on. Thank God it was short.
We take a break there.
What we say?
All right,
sure.
All right. All right. Thank you for dialing into our transmission. If you agree or disagree with our views, don't keep it to yourself. Let us know. Sharing your feedback is essential to building a community around all of our love of movies. You can do so by sending us an email at backtotheframerate@gmail.com or finding us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, or YouTube. We would also love it if you could take just a moment and leave us a solid rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to our show. We thank you all in advance. Okay, so we are going to get to our next segment, which is I am on top of it today. It is our movie pairing.
Oh yeah.
I have my little bumper here.
Sir,
What?
are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Well, have you heard anything about either one of them?
I find it's best to stay out of other people's affairs.
You mean you haven't heard anybody say anything about either one of these?
Nope.
Well, what about these two?
Oh, they suck.
This is the segment of our show where we I don't know what we do. We basically, if we were to watch Ernest Goes to Camp and were to suggest a double feature with this movie, what would that movie be? I need to phrase this better. I need help, guys. Double feature night with Ernest Goes to Camp.
You didn't like Costco Slams Club Saran Wrap double VHS? That's not taken off. That doesn't roll off the tongue the way you thought it would.
Yeah. B, you are first.
Sure, yeah. I think there's a lot of directions you could go, but I went for played a character, then they made movies on that character. I went for Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which I think is an infinitely better movie than this. So I think you should follow up Ernest Goes to Camp with Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Really fun, also full of tropes and slapstick, and zany good time.
I love it.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure is that Tim Burton, excellent. I love that movie. Yeah.
It's a great movie, full of surprises.
Do you know if it's available on stream right now or VOD?
I don't. Let me find out.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure was almost my pick, but I figured that might be a popular one.
It's on Apple or AMC Plus.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's a great pick. Okay.
What do you got?
So my movie pairing this week is it's this.
Now we're going to do something extremely fun. We're going to play a wonderful game called Who is My Daddy and What Does He Do? Yes?
Is your daddy a fireman? He's probably big. Is he a wrestler? Is he a basketball coach?
No.
What's the matter?
I have a headache.
It might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor at all.
It's kindergarten cop.
What I meant was, you tell me, who is your daddy and what does he do?
I just love the kids' reaction. Like, oh. Yeah, my movie pairing this week, I spoiled it in the beginning, is the 1990 Arnold Schwarzenegger action comedy from Ivan Reitman, Kindergarten Cop. Schwarzenegger plays a detective who goes undercover as a kindergarten teacher to catch a drug dealer, and hilarity ensues as the tough guy cop tries to control a classroom of rambunctious 5-year-olds. Whoa! So I waited quite some time for the opportunity to recommend this one, but I think this is the perfect week to do so. So why this pairing, you may ask? Well, I think there are lots of similarities. Both films blend humor with at least attempts to heartfelt moments. And both films feature a protagonist who initially struggle in their roles, but ultimately grow and create a connection with the children they are responsible for. So there you have it. Of all the Schwarzenegger comedies, I will say this one for me is my favorite. More than Twins, more than Jingle All the Way, and definitely more than Junior, which I think is a pretty bad film. Kindergarten Cop, I think it's just really great because not only is it a wonderful blend of action and comedy, and it's just really well written, and Arnold's comedic timing, I think, was never better than it is in this film. And even though Twins from '88, also directed by Reitman, was a huge hit, and Arnold is great in that, playing,
this is a really fun pick.
And Arnold's great in that, playing against type. This is the first time he plays a character that is very much like meta referencing his own celebrity and reputation as an action hero. And he would, of course, do this again on a grand scale with Last Action Hero a few years later. But I think it's better used in this film, that the way he does it. So this is a very funny movie with tons of quotable scenes. So I love this movie. So that's my pick. There you have it.
That's a good one. I like it. I haven't seen that movie in forever.
It's funny.
Yeah, it is funny. Twins is funny too, though. I do like Twins.
Yeah. Sam.
So I'm going to continue to go down the 1987 nostalgia childhood route, and my pick is Adventures in Babysitting, starring Elizabeth Shue, Maya Bruton, Keith Coogan, and Anthony Rapp. This movie is a fun adventure. They get drawn out into the city of Chicago on a crazy, like, wild adventure night with a 80s villain, and it's just a nostalgic, fun, really good, highly enjoyable movie. And it is available now to watch on Disney Plus. But I've always loved this movie, and it's actually a step up from Ernest Goes to Camp. So I would start
all
with
these
Ernest
movies
Goes
are
to
a
Camp
step up.
and then watch Adventures in Babysitting.
Great pick.
End your night on a high.
Yeah.
Good pick. I love all of these. This would be a great triple feature.
This would be.
Yeah. And Kindergarten Cop, just checked us on Prime Video. Streaming on Prime.
Cool.
All right. There you have it. So, everyone out there, if you watch any of our picks, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Okay.
And tune in as we lower the bar for the rest of the summer.
So, let's get to our verdict on Ernest Goes to Camp. Does this movie get saved or purged into the fiery apocalypse? B, what say you?
Purge it. I don't need it. Let it go. I don't really have anything else to say to that. It was fine. And if it doesn't show up in the shelter, I'm okay. I don't feel like future generations are missing out.
Yeah. I also will say no, purge it. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with this movie, but other movies that we've referenced, other fun characters like Pee-wee, Austin Powers, these awesome characters, I think there's better things out there that are good entertainment that kind of fall into this genre that I enjoy a lot more, that are better. So, yeah, I say no.
Not that it matters, Sam, but what do you think? It matters to me. It just doesn't matter.
I would save it out of just pure desperation, because if I'm going to be stuck in a bunker with you guys, I might as well have something fun to watch.
And the streak continues.
Yeah. Only to be nice to my 11-year-old self, but I can't do harm. I can't throw the film into the burning waste.
Sam, do you want to save all movies?
It gives you options,
That's true.
Okay.
Especially when we're like soullessly, trapped and like we have no center and there's just like a black hole in the middle of our lives. There's only cinema left.
We're going to run out of space. What if,
it's true. Well, we could always we could burn it if it got
dig
cold.
deeper.
Yeah.
What if it comes down to we can't save Jaws because we saved Ernest, I'm telling you.
Then I would just leap into the fire out of the bunker. I'd be like, nope, unacceptable.
It's not worth living. This life is not worth it.
I would not. I'd be like, nope, I will not endure this alternate reality of hell. But then I would still try to, when I left the bunker into the dark lands, I would still try to survive and be like, maybe if I climb up a hill, it won't be so hot. I don't know.
All right. Well, let's make this happen here. All gone from existence. Every single. There are no copies. They're out there. There's DVDs out there.
Just go to your local library.
Go to your local library. Well, not anymore. We destroyed them all.
Oh yeah, we did.
We did. Too late.
So bad. So sad.
All right.
A racist ass movie.
Our last segment here, if anybody else wants to participate, is a weekly highlight. I do have one that I will mention. Anyone else want to participate?
Well, it's not Ernest Goes to Jail.
It ain't that
for me. What do you
Would
got?
Well, the real highlight of my week was hosting an event in which 80 people, mostly friends and family, we tried to keep the riffraff out. But many humans descended upon my house, and it took an incredible amount of coordination and planning. The amount of leftovers is alarming. Our podcast is about the impending asteroid apocalypse. Well, my fridge looks like we've prepared for it. I have enough pasta to build a carb bridge to Italy.
Nice.
Enough chicken and eggplant parm that we can now officially change the theme of our podcast from preparing for Armageddon to Parmageddon.
Nice.
Where's my mic drop? Anyways. Okay, but movies, yes. I did somehow squeeze in one other movie this week, and it was a continuation of my Robert Altman marathon, which I started last fall. I watched for the very first time Shortcuts from 1993.
How was it?
I liked it a lot. This movie, it's hard to describe, but it's one of those films with a gigantic ensemble cast where all the characters have a little bit of screen time and all their lives are interconnected very loosely. There are definitely a lot of similarities to, I'd say, Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia, which now in retrospect, I can see PTA was heavily inspired by Shortcuts when he made that movie. And of course, PTA was kind of like the co-director, the backup author to his last movie, Prairie Home Companion, because Robert Altman's health was fading when he made that. The cast is incredible in this. If you look it up, it's like there's like 30 names in the cast of this. It's everybody from like the early mid 90s who was anybody in the industry. But though, in a nutshell, it's both the ultimate love letter and a middle finger to Los Angeles. So just be prepared for a long sit because it's over 3 hours long. But this movie is instantly near the very top of my favorite Altman films. I can't believe
Altman really circles back into great stuff around this area. You have Predator coming up.
Yeah, that's the next one. I can't believe it took like 30 years to watch this, but it was so worth it. And I actually want to see this again soon because it's so dense, all these stories and interconnectedness to these, that you really can't take it all in with one watch. So to say I highly recommend Shortcuts is an understatement, but it was really good. And I actually think I like it more than The Player, which The Player was my favorite for a long time. This is an incredible film. So yeah. That's awesome. That was my highlight of the week.
I didn't have time to watch any other things that weren't Ernest movies because The Bear dropped, and I love that show. So we binged season 3 of The Bear, which was so good. I've heard that people don't like it, but I thought it was excellent.
So you were actually, both of you were at the event that I was talking about. I found out that my in-law, my mother-in-law, her friend that stayed with us, he is very good friends with the showrunner, one of the people that work on The Bear.
No way.
Yes.
No way. That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, it's great. It's a great show, and it's been consistently great. So, it comes out and I love it. And now I just can't wait for the next season.
Yeah, I do like The Bear a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm a season behind, but I went right through season 1 like in a week.
Yeah.
And there's so much TV to catch up on. Yeah.
Never enough.
I've been watching one episode left. It's a short mini series called Presumed Innocent with Jake Gyllenhaal on Apple TV. I'm enjoying it a lot. I got one episode left, but it is really good as well. Nice. I think it's based directly on the Harrison Ford movie from like 1990.
Too much TV. Yeah. Can't keep up.
I know.
Not when there's movies, baby.
I know.
It's tough.
That's what's going on.
Sam, you watch anything good this week or nah?
I watched Alien Resurrection, kind of was getting back into the alien space, and I enjoyed it. Not like amazing, but some really good action scenes and cool set design. It's just like a visually interesting movie.
I will champion Alien Resurrection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
The underwater scene is especially harrowing. Like I thought, it's just got some cool visuals in it.
I've learned I would like to do. I mean, I recently did all the Alien movies, but leading up to Romulus, I'd like to do them again. But I think I need to space them out because even though they're very distinct films, when you try to watch like one every night, they do just kind of blend together after a while.
Or it's like you go from Aliens to Alien 3. That's like the biggest gut punch. Like the characters are dead, the ship has crashed, you know.
That's interesting because I find all the Alien movies to be very different different stylistically.
I do too. I mean, yeah.
You know, they're I like the fact that besides Alien, and of course Ridley Scott returned for Prometheus in Alien what's the Covenant, you know, Prometheus and Covenant have a very kind of similar aesthetic, obviously, but the other films have a very different style to them.
Just, like I think it's just the genre for me. From just watching them back to back to back. I'm like,
I get it.
When it comes to the look, like even though I like Resurrection, I do. Even though it's a harder film, I think Alien 3.
I liked Alien.
As many like pitfalls as has, I think it's a slightly better film than Resurrection. I think it's just richer.
It's kind of fun
and more brutal somehow. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Good week.
All right. I think
tee us up for next week.
Is about everything, and we are 18 days away from Twisters, right?
And counting.
It's coming up.
We got twins! Twins!
Can't wait. I can't wait. Thing about Twister is it was a great movie. So
yeah.
Can't wait.
Okay. All right, let's wrap it up. All right, so that is our show this week. Back to the Frame Rate is part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. We also wish to thank Brian Ellsworth for our show opening on behalf of all of us. We bid you farewell from our fallout shelter. Your presence in our underground sanctuary is truly appreciated. We are truly sorry you cannot join us, but we want to express our gratitude for your company. If you are finding solace in our discussions, we kindly ask you please subscribe and leave a rating review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whichever portal connects you to our broadcast. There you can find more episodes of this podcast, also on our website, backtotheframerate.com, and on Facebook, Instagram at Back to the Frame Rate. Your support is the beacon of light that brightens our confined space. Until we emerge from the fallout, stay with us, keep hope alive, and keep those reviews coming.
Gee, I'm glad it's raining. Sorry.
It's perfectly fine, Sam. And now that I've completely lost my place, you know what? I forgot one thing I want to mention. 99% of the people have tuned out. Next week, tune in. We're going to be watching The Great Outdoors from 1988. John Candy, Dan Aykroyd. It's going to be a hoot. Anyways, this is the end of our transmission. Back to the Frame Rate. Signing off.
I want you to know it's over.
Well, bye.